Chapter 3, Episode 2 of Tartarin of Tarascon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Tartarin of Tarascon by Alphonse Daudet. Episode the 2nd, Among the Turks. Chapter 3, An Invocation to Cervantes. The Disembarkation. Where are the Turks? Not a sign of them. Disenchantment. O Miguel Cervantes Saavedra! If what is asserted be true, to wit, that wherever great men have dwelt some emanation of their spirits wanderingly hovers into the end of ages, then what remained of your essence on the Barbary coast must have quivered with glee on beholding Tartarin of Tarascon disembark, that marvellous type of the French Southerner, in whom was embodied both heroes of your work, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. The air was sultry on this occasion. On the wharf, ablaze with sunshine, were half a dozen revenue officers, some Algerians expecting news from France, several squatting Moors who drew out long pipes, and some Maltese mariners dragging large nets, between the meshes of which thousands of sardines glittered like small silver coins. But hardly had Tartarin set foot on earth before the quay sprang into life and changed its aspect. A horde of savages, still more hideous than the pirates upon the steamer, rose between the stones on the strand and rushed upon the newcomer. Tall Arabs were there, nude under woolen blankets, little Moors in tatters, Negroes, Tunisians, Port Mahonis, Mizabites, hotel servants in white aprons, all yelling and shouting, hooking on his clothes, fighting over his luggage, one carrying away the provender, another his medicine chest, and pelting him in one fantastic medley with the names of preposterously entitled hotels. Bewildered by all this tumult, poor Tartarin wandered to and fro, swore and stormed, went mad, ran after his property, and, not knowing how to make these barbarians understand him, speechified them in French, Provençal, and even in dog Latin, Rosa, the rose, bonus, bona, bonum, all that he knew, but to no purpose. He was not heeded. Happily, like a god in Homer, intervened a little fellow in a yellow-collared tunic, and armed with a long-running footman's cane, who dispersed the whole riffraff with cudgel play. He was a policeman of the Algerian capital. Very politely, he suggested Tartarin should put up at the Hotel d'Europe, and he confided him to its waiters, who carted him and his impediments thither in several barrels. At the first steps he took in Algiers, Tartarin of Tarascon opened his eyes widely. Beforehand he had pictured it as an oriental city, a fairy one, mythological, something between Constantinople and Zanzibar. But it was back into Tarascon he fell. Cafes, restaurants, wide streets, four-story houses, a little marketplace, macadamized, where the infantry band played Offenbachian polkas, whilst fashionably clad gentlemen occupied chairs, drinking beer and eating pancakes, some brilliant ladies, some shady ones, and soldiers, more soldiers, no end of soldiers, but not a solitary Turk. Or, better to say, there was a solitary Turk, and that was he. Hence he felt a little abashed about crossing the square, for everybody looked at him. The musician stopped, the Offenbachian polka halting with one foot in the air. With both guns on his shoulders, and the revolver flapping on his hip, as fierce and stately as Robinson Crusoe, Tartarin gravely passed through the groups, but on arriving at the hotel his powers failed him. All spun and mingled in his head. The departure from Tarascon, the harbour of Marseilles, the voyage, the Montenegrin prince, the corsairs. They had to help him up into a room and disarm and undress him. They began to talk of sending for a medical adviser, but hardly was our hero's head upon the pillow than he set to snoring, so loudly and so heartily that the landlord judged the succour of science useless, and everybody considerately withdrew. End of Chapter 3 of Episode 2. Recording by Ricky St. Clair. BeingSanctifiedDaily.blogspot.com